In this video, we are looking at solving equations involving unknowns on both sides. So far, all the equations we have considered involve the pronumeral on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So, for example, 2x plus 3 equals 11. The pronumeral is on the left-hand side of the equals sign. To solve equations with pronumerals on both sides, it is best to look for the equivalent equation with pronumerals on just one side. To do this, you need to add or subtract terms so that the pronumerals only appear on one side. So let's have a look at this example here using this steps key. So we have 10 plus 5a equals 13 plus 2a. So we want letters on the left, numbers on the right. So the easiest thing for us to do is start with the letters and let's get rid of this on this side. So where we start will end up disappearing. So we find the positive 2a, opposite is negative 2a, and we find the equivalent on this side. So what we do to one side, we must do to the other. And so this actually cancels out into 0. And from there, what we do is we rewrite this down below and solve this as well. So we have 10 plus, now 5a minus 2a equals 3a. Drop the equal sign and the 13. And now we have a normal two-step equation. So the next line is getting rid of the numbers on this left-hand side because we want letters on the left and numbers on the right. So this is what I want to eliminate. So the opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. That cancels out, crosses out. And then I can rewrite this down the bottom here. 3a equals 13 minus 10 equals 3. What we now have is a multiplication. Opposite of multiplication is division. And what we do is we put this 3 under both sides. We give it to both sides because the number always next to the pronumeral is the one that goes underneath. 3 divided by 3 equals 1, and that cancels out. So now we just drop the a equals and go 3 into 3 goes once. We're now going to do some more solving equations involving unknowns on both sides. We have 3 questions here. The colour coordination of the pens is black for the question to begin with, followed by red, blue and green. So we start with the red pen. We have 7t plus 4 equals 5t plus 10. So we have to start by removing the letters on the right. And remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So we've got to start here. We've got letters on the left, numbers on the right. This doesn't belong here, so we go positive 5t minus 5t. And I must do this over here because what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And we know that 5t minus 5t cancels out to nothing. So then I solve this. 7t minus 5t equals 2t. I drop the plus 4, the equal sign, and I put 10. I don't need to put a plus in front of the 10. Now I have a two-step equation. And what I need to do is remove something that doesn't belong there. I want the letters on the left, numbers on the right. This 4 doesn't belong here, so I'm going to start with this because I get to eliminate it. And the opposite of plus 4 is negative 4, and what I do to one side, I must do to the other. 4 minus 4 cancels out into 0, so I simply drop the 2t down equals, and go 10 minus 4 equals 6. Now I have a multiplication situation because in between the 2 and the t is an invisible multiplication. You must do the opposite to multiplication, which is division. So I put my division lines there, which are fraction lines, and the number next to the pronumeral goes under both sides. So what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And we know that 2 divided by 2 equals 1, and it cancels itself out, and I drop the t down. And then I go, how many times does 2 go into 6? It goes 3 times, so t equals 3. In the second question here, we have a very similar situation. So we are going to start the same way we did the last one. We're going to remember that we want letters on the left, numbers on the right. I'm going to start with this here, and remember this symbol belongs to this term, so it's a negative 3x. So opposite of negative 3x is positive 3x, and what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I'm picking the same like terms, the ones with the x. So negative 3x plus 3x cancels out into 0, and I then solve this one here. 6x plus 3x is 9x. I drop down the plus 4, the equals, and the 22. And now I have a two-step equation. So I want letters on the left, numbers on the right. The 4 doesn't belong here, so opposite of plus 4 is negative 4, and what I do to one side, I must do to the other. We know that 4 minus 4 cancels out into 0, so I drop the 9x down, equals, and I go 22 minus 4 is 18. Now we have a multiplication situation here. Between the 9 and the x is an invisible multiplication symbol, so we must do the opposite to multiplication, which is division. And I use my fraction lines to show that. And the number next to the pronumeral goes down underneath both sides, because what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Now, we know that 9 divided by 9 cancels out. It equals 1, but we never put the 1 in front of the pronumeral. And we go, how many times does 9 go into 18? It goes 2 times. The third and final question over here, it looks a little bit different. We have one term sitting on the left, equals, and then there's 2 terms over here. That's okay. We know that we need to get rid of one of these. Now, we are going to start with this side. And I'm going to show you through this, because this equation works a bit backwards as you start eliminating the letters on the left first, because there's only one term here. All right, so we're going to start here. I know it looks a bit weird, but bear with me and you'll see what happens. So opposite of positive 2u is a negative 2u. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. And now this cancels out and we drop it down. Now we drop it down as a 0. Okay, we don't leave it as nothing. We drop it down as the number 0. We solve 7u minus 2u equals 5u, and we put the minus 20 there. So we now move down through to the next line, and we have 0 equals 5u minus 20. Now I really need to work on this side here, as bizarrely as it is. Remember, we're working backwards, so I need to keep the 5u. I can't work anything with 5u because I've got 2 numbers which are like terms, and this one is different. So I must work this one here. I can't work the 0, so I have to start here. So opposite of negative or minus 20 is positive 20. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other. This is going to make a bit more sense now. As you see, it comes around to look a little bit more normal. Negative 20 plus 20 cancels out into 0. So I go 0 plus 20 equals 20, equals sign, drop the 5u, and now we are back to a multiplication situation. It is flipped back to front, but that's okay. So we have a multiplication situation here, and the number next to the pronumeral goes under both sides, because what you do to one side, you must do to the other. We know that 5 divided by 5 equals 1. We drop the u down, and we go, how many times does 5 go into 20? It goes 4 times. Now we don't stop there, because we have to switch this around now, and we go u equals 4. So it's important to note that when you get a situation with 2 terms with letters and 1 without, and you have a letter on this side, you need to start eliminating on the left. Even though it says letters on the left, numbers on the right, you must start here, and you work a bit back to front until it comes back to a normal situation down here.